This is an NBC News special report. Here's Lester Holt.
Good afternoon. We're coming on the air with breaking news about the economy and another brutal day on Wall Street. The market's tanking right now ahead of the closing bell, just seconds away from the sell-off we're watching here, the worst in years, driven by President Trump's announcement Wednesday to slap retaliatory tariffs on our global trading partners. You hear the final bell there ringing now at Wall Street. China hitting back today with huge tariffs of its own on goods imported from the U.S. Let's show you how the markets have closed today at the bell. Looks like everything's, all three major indexes down about 6%. The S&P 500, the Dow Industrials, and the NASDAQ, again, all hovering right around 6%. Senior business correspondent Christine Romans is with me. Christine, this impact continues to drive stocks downward.
Absolutely, and you might take a couple of minutes to actually settle out on these closing numbers because there was such selling into the closing bell, really no let-up, closing near the lows of the day. And that selling is because there's just so much concern and anxiety about what these tariffs and these reciprocal tariffs from the president and then the retaliation from China and other countries will do to all of these businesses. You've also seen the number of people forecasting a recession. JP Morgan saying that the risk of a global recession is now something like 60% if the president continues along these lines. Any kind of company that imports for its business saw huge losses over the past couple of days. And for some context here, Lester, these 2 days of very, very heavy selling, these are the worst couple of days in the market since March 2020. That's, Lester, when the economy was shutting down because of COVID. That's the level of anxiety investors have about what's going on.
But what we're seeing here is the power of a choice, whereas when you go back to, obviously, COVID, there were other factors at work.
Absolutely. And many economists are saying this is preventable. This is because the president has decided to remake the global economy. You're seeing companies having to scramble to change how they do business, and that could mean a lower growth. It could mean layoffs. It could be a lot of disruption in the near term.
All right, I want to go to senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez now. He's traveling with the president and joins me from West Palm Beach. There's been some confusion and mixed messages, Gabe, about what the end game here is, if this is a bargaining tool the president's using or not.
Yeah, that's right, Lester. The president is back at Mar-a-Lago after spending most of the day at his golf club in Palm Beach County. And we have an unusually early lid. That means that the White House says that we don't expect any comments from the president, any news to be made for the rest of the day, even as the markets were tanking, as you reported. Now, as far as the mixed messages, Lester, we continued to hear yesterday from top White House officials that this tariff policy was not a negotiation, that it was meant to realign global trade and to bring back American jobs. But the president on Air Force One yesterday, speaking with reporters, suggesting that these tariffs did give the U.S. more negotiating power. And then just this morning, he posted on social media that he had spoken with the leader of Vietnam's Communist Party, who told him that Vietnam wants to cut their tariffs down to zero if they are able to make an agreement with the U.S. Again, the president is suggesting that the reason for these tariffs is to get more of a negotiating power. Now, the White House is touting that better than expected jobs number, which came out this morning. But of course, Lester, the context here, the full extent of the cuts to the federal workforce and these tariffs have really yet to play out, Lester.
All right, Gabe, thanks. Christine, let me talk about the jobs report. Normally, that would be something that might show reaction in the other direction on Wall Street. Nothing today.
It was a really strong report. 228,000 jobs. The jobless rate still just 4.2%. But you could see the beginning, the tip of the spear of those federal layoffs. 4,000 federal government jobs lost, and all economists think there will be big numbers along those lines in the weeks and months ahead. Also, that's a rear view mirror. I guess what it tells you, Lester, is that coming into this trade war that the president has started, the economy was resilient. The job market was dynamic and strong. So that's a piece of good news today.
All right, I want to go to Savannah Sellers now with a story that's kind of been burning on the periphery of all this. She's in West Palm Beach. Savannah, there's breaking news today about the president's big decision regarding the future of TikTok. What's happened today?
Lester, that's right, and it's tied up with exactly what you've been discussing with Christine and Gabe. We are now learning. The president now saying he is signing a new executive order. It will keep TikTok up and running for an additional 75 days, but specifically writing on Truth Social that he wants to continue to work in good faith with China, who I understand are not very happy about our reciprocal tariffs. Now, Lester, what we've also learned, sources familiar with the matter are telling NBC News that a deal here was nearly done, maybe even finalized, ready to be announced, but then China told ByteDance to call it off, with ByteDance calling the White House, essentially saying China is saying this is a no-go after those tariffs, specifically on Thursday morning, after President Trump's reciprocal tariffs there were implemented at that point. That is when we are seeing that deal actually ended up being derailed. We also are hearing for the first time from ByteDance confirming their involvement in these discussions and explicitly saying any agreement will be subject to approval under Chinese law, further confirming, Lester, that it will be up to the Chinese government, and that could be tied up in tariffs. Lester?
All right, Savannah Sellers, it is all connected. Thank you. That concludes this NBC News special report. We'll have much more tonight on NBC Nightly News and throughout the afternoon on our streaming channel, NBC News Now. Thank you for joining us. I'm Lester Holt. Good day.